In this video, we'll see how to set up an OpenSCD for offline use. Let's start with a brief introduction about what is meant by OpenSCD. OpenSCD stands for Open System Configuration Designer. In one-liner, we can say it's an IEC 6150 engineering tool, meaning that you can basically use OpenSCD in different stages of the IEC 670 based projects. It may be at the very beginning as an end user, you can start with the specification, or if you are a system integrator, you can use OpenSCD to import the SSD file, and you can able to import ICD files, and you can also create virtual IEDs, IED specification files, and you can of course according to the project you can build the data flow by creating a data set inside the specific protection control automation IDs, and then you can also complete the data flow engineering between devices for reports, goes, and sample values, all in one tool. And there are many different functionalities, but the main goal of this video is to understand how to set up it for offline use. So the intention was to fix the insufficiently populated SCL file. Of course, when we do work with 640 based projects, most of the times the system integrators hand over hundreds of CID files or more than 2-3 SCD files from different IED configuration tools. Often it's a big problem for an end user to be able to make use of these many different files to test or troubleshoot. Even for completed projects which might be even energized, still you can able to use OpenSCD to enhance with any extra information that can give you high quality data for monitoring and testing purposes. Another quick intro. When and how the OpenSCD story started. It was initially developed at Omicron, as I said, to improve the system configuration description files. And we know the content inside the SCD files are quite huge and valuable. And often these contents are missing in many different projects which are handed over by system integrators. And when we come across such a discussion with system integrator, often they say the end user don't really ask for such high quality SCD file. So it's very important to set a minimum requirement, even detailed requirement, how the SCD file is supposed to be engineered and handed over, and even it should be validated using a third-party testing tool to check against the content handed over with the real IEDs in the network. We'll see first how to get an OpenSCD. So the OpenSCD is a web application available in GitHub repository, and the OpenSCD web application can be directly used with an internet access. You can import any different SCL files, but of course the confidential content which is in the SCL files are often question, is it secure enough to be able to import in the web browser with an internet access? And there are many challenges, not only it's all about cybersecurity risk. At substation, especially in remote location, it's difficult to access internet. In those cases, it's better to host the OpenSCD locally in your laptops or engineering workstation to edit an SCL file to output one file which explains the complete information about the whole substation. Um, so we will see how to set up an OpenSCD now. So let's go to the web application. So this is the OpenSCD online environment, but I go first to another application. So as we know already, the OpenSCD is a web application. To be able to host OpenSCD in offline, we need a web server. So I go to another tab. You can simply search for simple web server. Let's go to the first link, and the main reason why we go for this application, before if we go to the left side top, the main menu and help, this is where the OpenSCD repository located. And if you go to the wiki section and how to installation section, the offline access was explained based on the web server for Chrome. It's not available anymore with the latest version of Chrome and other web client applications like browsers. That's why we need to make use of so basically if you go to the coming from web server for Chrome, this is the short story. So we need to make use of the latest option. So let's go back a little bit. And then I go to the a bit back, and then I go to download section. I go to the release notes. You can also understand what are the changes in the recent build. So as I have Windows operating system, I prefer to download this latest version, which is compatible for 64-bit. So this is an application which helps us to host the OpenSCD resource file. Of course, it's not scanned with a third-party application. I'm fine with it. I prefer to keep it anyway, because I also have Sentinel running up and running. Of course, you also have your own antivirus in case something goes wrong. But of course, you can definitely trust. So we have downloaded the simple web server from a GitHub repository. Let's start with the installation. The installation is pretty simple. There's no complicated checkbox that you need to read and then install it. Just one click and the simple web server is ready. Now what we need the resource file. The resource file can be downloaded from OpenSCD GitHub area. So you go to the OpenSCD repository and you go to the code section in the top left. Then in the right side there is a releases. 2 days ago there was a new release happened as on today, and we have to give credit to all the developers working from different part of the world. So the main contributor is of course Jakob. He's working from the beginning of this project, who actually created the OpenSCD core, and he got a lot of support from many other developers. So thank you to everyone involved in this project. And let's click the releases section. So we have to download the zip file And you can also see the recently added features and bug fixes, improvements, and the previous release. And the releases are almost um, every 1 or 2 months time. When there is a new feature and it's well tested in-house, it will be published officially and you can download it for your use when you see the latest version. So now we have downloaded the OpenSCD repository, the content resource files. I cut this file and I go to another location. Maybe I create a new folder in the desktop because I prefer to keep it in a different location because the downloads location often I clear from my PC. So extract to the folder in same location. So here is the package distribution and inside the build. So you have to go until you reach the HTML file. Then you can click copy the path. Then you come back, go to the simple web server. Of course, you can change the view and mode. Sometimes by default it's in system mode, and you can also use different theme as you wish. Let's go back to the main page, and we wanted to create a new server, and the path has been copied already. Then I put path here, then I just select, and default I can use the 8080 port number, and I go with the default setting. I don't want to give an access to others, but of course if you're working in a team you can also give an access. You can host the OpenSCD in a high-end PC, give an access to others. You can basically give access to many um, clients, many users from central location, but in my case I prefer to host it locally in one PC. Start the server and click once it's started, then you click the URL. So now the OpenSCD is hosted locally in your PC. Maybe I wanted to just to make it really clear. Then I go to scp.cpl just to I have an internet access on the LAN port. I disable the internet access. I also disable the Wi-Fi because it automatically go to the Wi-Fi. This is just to show you I'm not connected to the internet. Okay. So the Wi-Fi also disabled. The LAN port, which is having the connection to the intranet, has been disabled, and I have no SIM card connected to my 5G slot. So I have basically no internet access on my PC now. This is just to show you that OpenSCD is now gonna run completely offline with a local host IP address that you can see in the top right on the URL. So next thing, you can install this OpenSCD web application as an app. So you click in the top right. Of course, you can click the link if you are not a fan of Microsoft Edge. You can definitely host launch the web server connection from another web client. Different browsers are available. As you wish, you can use it as per the recommendation from your IT team. So I install this as an app. So now the OpenSCD is installed as an app, and I prefer to allow to keep the OpenSCD app accessible from the start menu, start button, also in the pin the taskbar so they can easily access it. Allow, and I also would like to pin OpenSCD in the taskbar. Okay, that's fine because I use it almost daily basis sometime. Next, what we need to do, I prefer to close it. I can CD from the start button as well. Next, you can enable the menus that you're really interested in. So you click the main menu and go to the plugins. And there are some um, default menus or plugins enabled by default when you install it. But you can, of course, flexibly enable the most interested plugin for you. Publisher, cleanup. Also, I'd like to maybe show what else. I also can add the plugin store beta to enable more functions. So I go to the plugin store. I can also enable the 104 plugin. I can also install all plugin, but on demand I can enable whenever I need some functions like Network Explorer, because there are many other contributors for different plugins, and I can also make use of those plugins when I needed it. So basically I install all plugins. The stage. I also enable, so I'm done with enabling all plugins. I prefer to close at this level. Next, I go to the plugins. So here I do see some extra plugins because of the plugin beta menu where I have installed it. So I prefer to enable few like Communication Explorer, Network Explorer for now. But in the upcoming videos, we will see other options as well in detail, how it can be really useful for our projects when we are doing engineering modification. For now, I prefer to close it, and then let me import one of the SCL file. So you can basically import any different SCL file. So let me go to the file extension just to show you. You can import a different type of SCL file, which are supported by IEC 602 standard. So let me import one SCD file first, and you can straight away use different filters under the IED main menu, and you can choose the IED that you're really interested in, and then you can also apply the filter for the logical nodes that you're interested in on the specific IED. Next, you go to the substation where you can able to see the substation section in detail. So these are the station level devices and the substation voltage level at the high voltage side, and many different base, line base, trafo, that is side one bus coupler. We have a medium voltage. At the LV side, we have two LV side trafo. And then single line diagram, if it is already engineered, another tool, you can also visually see the complete single line diagram of your full substation. And next, you can also do the data flow engineering for goose and sample value. Also reports in another menu. I'll come for that slowly. And you can also edit the communication section at this level, and the templates which are part of the SCD file you can filter and see by tapping it. And publisher, which is very, very important because this is where the project customization heavily goes on for the customized level of data set. You click the data set, you can choose the ID, and you can basically add the number of data attribute, data objects at this level by selecting data set. And you can, once you create the data set, you can basically connect the data set to a report control block. You can also edit the report control block. And you can also create data set from here, basically the report control block, and then add data attribute as you wish inside the data objects, data attribute inside the specific repo control block automatically. You can delete it, you can clone to speed up the typical data set that you have in typical IEDs and base. Same for Goose and sample value control block as well. So you can completely have full access to edit in user interface. You can also go to XML view. For that, you go to the settings menu, and you can also enable the setting mode. Then you go to cancel. I'm not editing anything here. For example, you're really interested in specific setting. You wanted to go in the XML editing. That's also possible quite easily. Next, the cleanup menu actually populate the unused data sets which are not referenced to any control blocks like report, ghosts, and sample value. This is just to eliminate unwanted content in the SCL file. And the Communication Explorer help you what informations are associated related to MMS, source and destination for goods and sample value, and client server for MMS. For example, if I click on HMI, you see all the IEDs are configured to send report with the HMI. If you click on IED, you also see this IED is configured to send reports to 3 different clients. You have option to filter the IED that you're really looking for, and you can basically open multiple instances of the OpenSCD at the same time. You can also open another SCD file or another STL file. And if, for example, we go to the Network Explorer, and then you can also, let me fit to the screen. For example, there are 2 switches in this SCD file. Switch 1 here, the station bus, and this switch having 8 ports, and you can also understand which port is connected to which IED and which type of interface has been connected, where it's exactly connected in detail. And another switch at the process level, process bus, and which IED has been connected to, which switch. All this information can be understandable. The idea is the SCD file include a lot of confidential data like an IP address, ID name, and the data flow information for the communication. And then you also see the network connectivity between switches and IEDs. So it's always recommended to host locally where you have full control instead of hosting online. But of course, online access is also secure, and it's up to the user. And to be able to get updates, you can also check in the Substation Automation System and Cybersecurity LinkedIn group, where we also post different new features like Siemens Dixie 5 latest release, version 10.0, and how to update the firmware for Hitachi Energy, Brilliant 670, 650 IEDs, and StationScout group some new feature updates and some more interesting cybersecurity events, webinars, or fixes for ABB and GE, SCL webinars, and so on. And 2 months ago, there was a last release happened for OpenSCD, so it's also a good place to get an update. And all the links that I have used here will be available in the description of the video. And you can also get the updates on the OpenSCD playlist. And I have another quick update. Maybe I go to the network interface just to enable the access point. Once it's connected to the internet, I can show you how you can make use of the final SCD file to check the consistency with the actual devices. So we have an internet access enabled. So let me access one remote PC. So have the StationScout. All you need is just import the SCD file. This is just to show one use case. So I have many IEDs online, so you can import it, you can check it offline before you go for online consistency check about the SCD file handover to you if you're an end user. Or if you're a system integrator, you can also double check the content which is in the SCL file is appropriate and available in the actual devices in the network. Next, I click one of the ID which is not available in the network. I prefer to simulate this ID like a real ID and check the simulation flag because it's a test environment. And then I can also click one of the IP address here, copy this. To go online, I have to provide one spare IP address. 23 is not used in the network. Applied. You can also synchronize the test set to the GPS or NTP. Next, we go online. So now you can quickly check the HMA is now connected to all IEDs in the substation and activated the report quickly, and similarly for RTUs. And even you can check the IED, everything is green, meaning that the system is working as expected, including all the IEDs between IED to the station level devices, between IEDs to IED. You can see the different color codes in the top right, the legend symbols. SV stands for sample value, which are highlighted in the pink color. R stands for reports, which are highlighted in the green color. So there are 3 report control block has been associated by 3 different clients, which are sent by the MMS server here in the Bay 1. And you also see many goose control blocks, which are highlighted in purple color. You also see 2 different type of lines. One is the dark line, another one is some dotted line, dashed lines. The dashed lines are the incoming connection to the selected ID. The solid lines are the outgoing connection to the selected ID. So you have full flexibility to focus on, let's say for example, I wanted to only focus on the goose message. I can simply uncheck the sample value and report, and I can focus on this ID configured to send goose messages to two different type of data. One is a protection information to busbar protection ID. Another one is a switchgear equipment status for interlock application. We can remove or go to the default state to get the visibility. So the quick check. Let's go to let's say assume one of the protection engineer, automation engineer, configured to do some changes on the Goose publisher on the Bay 1. It's where he intended to change the configuration of the dataset and control block. And what happens immediately once the engineer or system integrator change the Goose control block content to the Goose publisher, the StationScout picks the consistency issue, and you can get this information quite easily in the top level. So the idea is when you change the configuration related to the publisher content, it may be a sample value or goose even reports. The same content supposed to be also sent to the subscriber to have the right changes sent to both IEDs, publisher and subscriber. So the subscribers are not having the latest association changes which are done in the publisher. So you can basically click the yellow color line and see in the right side what was the expectation from StationScout at the very beginning, and someone changed the uh, goose control block VLAN ID. Before it was 2 defined in the SCL file which we have imported, and the destination multicast MAC address also changed. Configuration revision has been changed. So all this will be really useful, having the right SCL file, basically the SCD file, which should be one for a whole project to make it more easier. Um, and engineering this high quality SCDs file is very important, where you can make use of OpenSCD for that purpose. So once you fix the subscriber update or the publisher changes, and everything will be normalized. So if you need more support related to the OpenSCD topics, you can comment if you need me to cover specific use cases based on my availability. I'll be able to support. Thank you. Of course, you can create feedbacks. This is very important to highlight. If you go to the issues, feel free to create any feedback that makes sense for you and other users, so that it's easy for the team to contribute. So there are many feedbacks has been quickly addressed and fixed. So you can basically create a lot of feedbacks if you're a user, if you wanted to contribute to the development, because any open source, especially working with a diverse group of contributors around the world, you will also gain exposure to different coding style and and the problem-solving approaches, along with the latest technologies used in the different code component. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.